In this video, I'm going to go through the spreadsheets that I use to keep track of shares that I'm interested in purchasing, my watch list that I create, how I do my analysis, and then once I've purchased shares, how I keep track of all the relevant information, so things like dividends, franking credits, capital gains if you buy and sell them, tracking the performance of the portfolio over a 10-year period, and then for the current years, these are all the spreadsheets that I use to track my shares. So I started creating these spreadsheets in 2018 and then have refined them over the years, and now I'm finally at a point where I am happy with them, and so that's why I'm sharing now how I use them in this video. So if you want a copy of these spreadsheets, I'll have a link down below to my shop where you can purchase a copy. So when you download them, I have an instructions tab here which gives you a little bit about each spreadsheet and how I use them and some tips. And as I go through and show you, if you hover your mouse over the red cells, which are later on, like these ones, I give you some tips on what to put in each of the columns as well if you get stuck. Okay, so firstly, I like to start with the helpful resources section. So I use various tools to do my research on which shares that I want to buy. And as you can see, a lot of it is ASX based because I am located in Australia. But if you're in the US or another country, you can always just modify this to suit whatever resources you like using, and you might not watch some of these YouTube channels that I do. You might not use some of these resources. That's fine. You can put your own in there. You can choose the frequency that you want to check them. Most of these I'll just check when I'm interested in buying a new stock, but if you want to put a weekly reminder, whatever, you can put that in there. So you can add your own resources as well and delete out any of these if you don't think they're helpful. These are just the ones that I like to use. Then I created this tab which is my rules and my research questions. So during COVID, I got a little caught up in the tech stocks that went up quite a lot and was doing a bit of buying and selling, and that was never really my core focus. My focus was on dividends, but I did get distracted and I did lose some money on some of those shares, particularly the buy now pay later ones. So after that I said, no, I can't do that again. So I created some rules for myself which I can refer to, and then I also have a list of my research questions as I deciding which ones I want to purchase. These are some of the things that I like to check just for my own personal reference. You can again delete any of this. If you think it's not applicable to you, you can add in your own into the spreadsheet. You can customize it however you like. So you can set your own rules and your own research questions, and I just think it's nice to have this written down. You can refer back to it, and it's just like the final point of call, like before I pull the trigger and purchase this share, is this actually aligned with my goals for my portfolio, and is this actually something that I should be investing in? So next I have my shares watch list. So after you decide your research questions and your rules, you kind of get an idea of, okay, like for me, I'm steering clear of tech stocks now. So then I won't really put any on my shares watch list. I've got one in here just as an example for you guys to give some different variety of some of the comments and some of the things that I look at when I do my analysis, but obviously add your own. Everyone's different on what they're focused on, and things that are important to them when they're investing, so you can just add your own comments in there. I also like to put in the sector and whether it's an LIC or a company or an ETF or whatever it is, and that way when I'm looking at my portfolio and I'm like, okay, I need some more ETFs maybe, then I can filter using the drop down arrow any ETFs. So I don't have any on there at the moment, so hey, maybe I should go research some and add them to this watch list. So after I've done a little bit of high level analysis, looking at some of those resource websites that give you some commentary and show you like the graphs of how it's performed over 10 years, etc., then I might add my own comments and things like if I want to purchase shares in something, but then there's another share on the ASX that already has part ownership of that company, or maybe I can just purchase the main one, all that kind of comments in there. So put whatever you want. Then I give it a star rating. So 1 being bad, as you can see the tech stock, 5 being really good, I should buy that share. So I rate them, and then anything that is in the top 10%, so for this one it's like my 4s and 5s, it'll go blue. So when I have some money ready to invest in shares, I can come to this spreadsheet and I know, okay, this is what I should buy next. I've done the research, I go ahead and buy it, and it's not this frantic, oh my god, what's like trending today, what shares in the media, what shares booming, all that. No, it's like I find this much more structured approach has worked better for me. I don't get distracted buying stuff that I should not be buying. And then I also have this stock up share. So when I have some cash and I don't know what to buy next and everything is either really expensive, but I want to keep progressively putting money into the share market, even if it might be a bit high that day, because I figure over the long run it'll average out. That's just one of my approaches. Again, do whatever you want. But I like to have this stock up share. So I go, okay, I've got some money. These are the ones that I am stocking up on. So I'll just go and put money against one of them. I also have if I'm buying to hold, to trade, or don't buy. So obviously not buying that tech stock. I might buy some Flight Centre to trade it because I think it might go up over time with COVID ending. So you can put whatever you want in here. I also have my maximum buy price and then my sell price. So if it's a share that I'm holding, I just put NA, not applicable, because obviously I'm not going to sell it. And then if it's one that I want to try trading, like this one, I'll put in the price that I want to sell it for. And I'll see, okay, this is a potential profit that I could make if I put in $3,000. So you can see that it'll do all these calculations for you. That's why these div errors are appearing here, because we don't have any data in these columns. Once you add those in, it will automatically do the calculation for you and tell you, what your yield will be and how many shares you can get for the amount of dollars that you want to put in. So that's automatic. Also do the dividend yield and the franking credit. So I don't know if other countries have franking credits, but Australia does, and I love them. They're great for tax time, so I always record that, and that's why you'll probably also notice that a lot of my yes shares that I want to buy have good franking credits. I also like to put in the dates that things are ex-dividend, so if it's like, I don't know, January, and I've got some money set aside, okay, which ones are coming up to pay dividends? Maybe I'll put it against one of these because they pay a dividend in, February. It's going to go ex-dividend in February, so again, up to you, but I like to have that recorded. I just find that helpful. And you also might look at that and go, okay, that's when I won't buy because the dividend's probably already factored into the price, and maybe you'll go, okay, I want to buy this share in April. It's just nice to have that data in there. And I couldn't find any online like research or tools or any other sort of like platform, I guess, that I could record all of this data. There's plenty of tools online like ShareSite, and then my broker that I use, which is one of the big 4 Australian banks. They've got lots of research, but there's nowhere for me to put my own notes about what I care about when I'm going to invest in something. So that's why I created all these spreadsheets. Some of the data that came out of there come tax time for my dividends was also inaccurate. So some of the amounts of the dividends that it said I had been paid did not match the statement and my bank account of what I had actually received. So that's another reason why I just was like, nah, I can't trust these websites. I need to just do this myself in Excel. Like if it's for tax, it's got to be correct. So I know that someone's going to comment and say, why don't you use those resources? That's why I'm using Excel. If you want to dabble in some international shares, I created a separate spreadsheet because Australia is very financial and materials focused, and not a lot of, again, like big tech companies, reliable ones like America has. America also has heaps of companies that have been around a lot longer than Australian ones, which I wanted to invest in. So that's why I created an international shares watch list. So if you're in the US, this could perhaps be an Australian shares watch list or any other country. And I'm mainly doing ETFs for those because it's just less hassle for all the tax restrictions. And you can see that I put some comments in there, and then it's the same columns as I had for the other shares watch list. Then I have my share trading tracker, and if you don't like the order of any of these tabs down the bottom here, you can just move them around to suit whatever works for you. You just left click on the tab and then move it, and you can move it back, whatever order you want to arrange it in. Green is like my research shares and research tabs, and then blue is like my actuals data. So if you wanted to do some dabbling in share trading, some hypothetical buy and sell, here's an example for you. And you get all these examples in the download as well, because I've done spreadsheets before and people were a little confused. So I put examples in there. They're all in there. You can refer to quite easily, so you don't have to keep coming back to this video, which you can do if you want to, but there's examples in the spreadsheet in the download. So let's say I wanted to buy and sell some Flight Centre. I brought them on this date. I sold them for this price. You can see here was my total. That's my capital gain. My tax, let's just say my tax rate's 30%. If you're in another country and it's, I don't know, 25, you can type that in and it'll automatically update for you. And then you can see how much profit you would potentially make. Because this one here, this watch list, this is just a rough one. It doesn't give you the brokerage. So I don't know how much brokerage you're paying. Maybe it's only like $2 or something minor, but I just want to put that in there. And then if you do follow through, I usually put these in red. and then once it happens, I'll change it to grey, and then you can just send this spreadsheet off to your accountant come tax time. You can also put your target of how much you want to make. So I was using this a lot during COVID when I was doing buying, selling. I'm not using this so much now that I'm going back to focusing on dividend investing. The trading tracker tab is there if you need it. And then for dividends, so this one is for research. So it's all good and well to have the dividend yield, like I've got on this tab here. However, I want to see what the dividend history was as part of my research before I buy a share. So that's why I have this tab here where I record the shares for however many years you're comfortable with. So I like to go back at least 5 years to see the dividend history, to see if the dividends are going up, how they performed during COVID, did they pay a dividend during COVID, all that stuff, because obviously if I'm a dividend investor, this is one of the most important things to me. So I can record all this data in here. You can change the years if you want to, and you can see I put lots of notes there as well to guide you. So if you wanted to go all the way back to like 2010, you can do that. And then I put in some here just so you can see. So if I was looking at all of this, I'd go, okay, my highest ones automatically will go blue for me in the spreadsheet, and my highest is Rio Tinto. So if I already have a lot of shares in like mining, I'd go, okay, it's good dividend yield, but is this a balanced portfolio? Probably not. So then I'd go to the next one. What else have I got? I've got Wesfarmers. They're not a mining company. Cool. I'll invest in there next, and I can see that it's got a good yield. It's regularly paying dividends. So I just like to have all this data laid out, because when you go on those online tools, you can filter it for individual shares and it'll give you that data. I'm like, that's great. But then I can't do a comparison as easily. And some of those tools online will only let you compare like 2 or 3 stocks, and I want to have all of them. Like this to me for 6 of them is a lot easier for me to just quickly go, yep, that one, and that one. Like it's really quick. And you can download all this data from numerous websites, including some of the ones I've put on the helpful resources list here. And then you can just copy and paste it into the spreadsheet and do your analysis that way. And then it's already here. So, I mean, like this historical data isn't changing. So it's already here when you want to come back to it and check whatever, you want to buy next. So I really, really like this one. It's very helpful for me being a dividend investor. Another thing that I like to track is the share price. So I want to know what is a good price to buy it for. So if you're watching the share market every day that it's open, then you'll have a feel for what a good bargain price for the share is. But if you're new to buying shares, I would just watch. So I watched the market for probably about 3 months before I actually bought anything. And I watched the patterns and I picked some on my wish list. And I was like, okay, what's this share price doing? You start to get a feel for what's a good price. But if you want to be more accurate, because when I started analyzing a lot of them, I was like, I can't remember what the price for that one was. So you can list them all out in here. You can track them on whatever time period you want to do. If you want to do, daily for 2 weeks, if you want to track it once a quarter, which I've done here for the example, you can input all the share prices. And again, in plenty of those helpful resources that I've listed out here, you can look at the historical data and then you can just copy and paste it into the spreadsheet. So I can see that based on this CBA, the average price that would based on from 2020 to 2022 for about 2.5 years there is about $86. Now, I haven't seen it at $86 for quite some time. It hasn't been that for like a year. So I'd probably go, actually, I think $90 might be a more like reasonable buy-in price, and then I can set up my bid to buy it at $90 based on that. Or you might go, okay, Wesfarmers has been fairly steady. It's hanging around like the 45. I thought it was going to come out at 45 and the average came out at about 48. So I go, okay, maybe there's no point in putting in a bid for 45 because I'm never going to get it for 45. So I can see that I should put in my bid for about 49. So I just like to use that to track the share price and see if I'm getting a good price or not. And also if I want the bid to actually go through and not just sit there for months, then this is the price I need to put it in for. Okay, so then we go into like when you've actually brought shares, and then you've got your actual data where you can analyze how your portfolio is going. So I wanted a summary where I could track it over 10 years. Now, these are not my actual figures in the spreadsheet. I've just put examples in here. Obviously, I'm not going to share my real numbers. But my spreadsheet, once I started in 2018, I'm about halfway through this now, and the graph is nicely populated, and you can see, okay, if it's going up or down. So you've got the numbers, and you've also got the visual with the chart. So if you're, numbers or visual, you've got both there to see how it's going. And then if you scroll down, you can also see how your passive income is going. So if you wanted to have a share portfolio that's built up so much that you can just live off the dividends, the passive income, then you can see how it's going per year, month, and per week. Now, these numbers here, you have to manually input them. So at the end of the financial year, you can download reports from whatever broker or platform that you're using, and then you can input that in here. So it's not automatically linked, just FYI. These ones are manual. Now, on the annual summary, you can see that it doesn't really show you much when it's blank. So I've got one with numbers populated so we can see a lot better. So you can put in your start value per month. So I like to track how it's going per month and increases and decreases. And I also like to put in a goal as well. So mine is to just put up, I just did 5% extra, but you can put whatever you want in there. Maybe, the share market's going to go down that month and you can just manually type in whatever your goal, like up to you. You can put it in however you like. So I can see my portfolio by month, how it's going, and I can also see it by sector at the start of the year and then at the end of the year. So these ones I pull from my broker. They give me a chart on my value by sector. I input them. I've got my value at the end of the year, and I can see if it increased or decreased. So I can see that in this hypothetical data set, my financial shares did really well. Maybe that's something you want to invest more of. You can see, so my end of year value was 25%, and I reached that because I got the 26 to 50. You can see your goal percentage of your portfolio and then your actual. So for this one, my goal was 32. I'm actually a little bit overweight at 34. I'm 2% above. So I probably shouldn't buy any more in there, but then you might go, I'm getting good dividends. So you can just use it to help you do your analysis. You can see that like materials didn't go well. I didn't buy enough of them, but the value went up, so maybe I should put more in there. So you can just see your analysis by month and then by sector, the start of the year, the end of the year, and then also with your weightings as well for each sector. Then you can track your contribution. So I like to know how much I've put in versus what's been reinvested dividends and my own extra cash contribution throughout the year, and then versus obviously your capital growth. So when you're using this each year, you would have this spreadsheet that you would roll forward. So you would look at your total from all the prior years, which in this example is, say I've put in 55,000 to date. That could be over, 2-3 years, whatever. And then my goal for this year might be to put in an extra 15 grand, comprising of 10 grand of my own cash and 5 grand of dividends that I've reinvested. And then you can track your actual contribution, your total to date, which will then become your starting point for the next year. And you can see that over the 2 years that you have invested, your return was 21%. And of those 2 years, you've made about 11% per annum. So I really like looking at this for my data to see how it's going. Also track some lessons learned. So as you can see, don't buy some tech stocks that are trendy. If you're a dividend investor and they're not even paying dividends and it's risky, so I just like to put some notes in there. Put whatever you want. I've got some goals for dividends and franking credits, the goal total and then the actual total, and these ones here in bold will pull from the other tabs of this spreadsheet. So provided that you populate those tabs, it'll automatically flow through to this summary as well. And then with all the data up the top here, it'll spit out these nice graphs for you where you can see your portfolio value this year and how it's gone over time. And you can see it by sector from the start of the year versus the end of the year. So if you're not someone who wants to look at numbers, you prefer the visual, you can see that, okay, this one here, which is my healthcare, it has decreased. So at the start of the year, it was quite a large chunk, and then it's become a bit smaller. So you might want to go, okay, I need to invest more there. Energy was quite large. It's shrunk a bit. So it can also just help you if you don't want to look at the numbers when you're rebalancing. And if you want to see your portfolio by stock, this again will pull from other tabs from the shareholdings one. You can see that I've only got 3 in this example, but we are quite overweight with mineral resources, and then also CBA, maybe not enough in Rio, and there's plenty here. So you can get a nice chart and really see which stocks you've invested too much in or not enough. Then I have the dividends tracker. So come tax time, I need to show my dividends and my franking credits. And as I was saying before, I know that there's some tools that you can use, things like ShareSite, that will generate this for you, but I found the data to be inaccurate. So I don't mind using those other tools for like maybe a forecast of how much you think you'll get for dividends, but I can't use it for tax purposes. If it's going to be for tax, it needs to be correct. So I'm doing it myself. So you can look at your statements as they come through and input your dividends, your franked amount. If you've got a trust, you can put the distribution in there. And this is for Australian tax base, but if you are in another country, you can just type over these labels. Here and put whatever's applicable to you, and then you can just extract this spreadsheet and send it to your accountant come tax time. And there's also totals down the bottom. If you're updating this throughout the year as you go, it's a good way to see how you're tracking as well, rather than just waiting for some data at the end of the year, having a look at it and going, oh, okay, retrospectively, like this share's not paying me much dividends, I should probably get rid of that share. I mean, you've waited a whole year with like low dividends. I'd rather update it as I go, get like the live data, and then can make adjustments. I'm a bit hands-on with my shares. I'm not someone that's just going to leave it sit there for a year, checking at tax time, and then leave it till the next year. I'm like regularly looking at it, so I like to update it as I go. Then lastly, we have the shareholdings tab. So once you've bought a share, you can input when you bought it, number of shares, what you paid, and your total investment, your broker fee. I like to put in the HRN number so I can pull the statements for the dividends. Just good to have that for quick reference. If you've done the dividend reinvestment plan, or if it's not applicable, how much dividends you've received that financial year, your franking credits, and then you can track your return. So I like to keep this one for my own purposes, just to see how they're going. And then if you did decide that you wanted to then trade some of these shares, you can just copy and paste this data to the share trading tracker tab. So I hope you found this video helpful with some instructions and tips on how you might track your own share portfolio, or if you want a copy of these spreadsheets, I'll include a link down below where you can purchase them from my shop. You'll receive the blank copy like these ones, and then ones with examples to help guide you. Again, you can come back to this video if you need some tips, and if you hover your mouse over anything with a red triangle in the corner, it'll also give you some prompters as well. If you have any questions, just let me know in the comments down below.